I'd like to introduce our next guest. He is the host of the This is Revolution podcast. Please welcome Jason Myles. Hello, Jason.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
I don't know how to use Zoom because I've never liked it. And so my background is going to be green because I have a green screen. So you win this time, Feldman. You win this time. But rest assured, vengeance shall be mine.
Jason is a musician and a video essayist.
Essayist. Yeah, that sounds cool.
Who is from Oakland and now is living down in Mexico, doing your show out of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about the revolution. How do you define a revolution, and what?
You just came out blazing with the tough questions, huh?
Yes.
You don't want to hear about my mother?
Why do you have to bring your mother into this?
I mean, that's a difficult question at this time. I mean, to be honest, the name from the show came from a lyric in a song. The show was originally called Sound Waves. I'll have to kind of preface my revolutionary thought by kind of telling you the genesis of the show. I lived in a music rehearsal recording studio in West Oakland, California. Right. And in this studio were generations of musicians, producers, stagehands, and living there, I got to know them pretty well. And I wanted to call the show Sound Waves. That was the name of the studio I lived in. If you're familiar with Boots Riley's Sorry to Bother You, he actually filmed a lot of that there, built out a lot of the sets there. So there was a lot that was always going on, and I figured I'd have this show to do when I wasn't touring where I could literally interview my friends.
Mm-hmm.
COVID changed that. Made it a little more serious than I wanted it to be. And so the show stopped having any sort of musical influence other than me creating the music for the show, and was just me talking about a lot of the things that I was seeing on the road for the last like 7 years. And in 2012, it had gotten really difficult to tour, especially domestically, as a Black person, because there was a lot of Obama pushback.
In 2012?
Oh, yeah. The second election really marked, and in my opinion, again, traveling around, I'm not a big musician, so I can't like fly into New York City and Chicago. So I have to literally play every little town in between California to New York.
So you're saying that Obama did not usher in a post-racial society, that we didn't get beyond race. Actually, we revealed how entrenched racism is.
I'll complicate the narrative.
Good.
Before Obama, I worked in the Gulf of Mexico on oil rigs. And I didn't always...
And you got fired. You were working at the Horizon BP rig in the Gulf of Mexico.
In all seriousness, I worked across the water from it.
And they won't hire you anymore just because of a 90-day leakage.
I used to, sad story, I used to chop her in with those guys.
Really?
We took the same helipad, and they were across the water. That thing was massive. It looked like a city in the sea.
Right.
Massive. So I was like,
really, that was like 2010, wasn't it? Where you just...
It was 2010 when that thing went down. I wasn't there when it went down, of course. I was back home. And I only did that work because I worked in the real estate finance business, and that went under in 2007 for me more so than 2008.
Hang on for 1 second.
Uh-huh.
So you worked in finance.
Uh-huh.
Then you worked.
Then I lost everything.
And then you worked on an oil rig.
I decided that was probably a good decision.
You're the enemy.
If you don't work inside, you'll never know.
I agree with you. I actually agree.
First of all, for revolutions to work, you always have to have class traders first and foremost, right?
Yeah,
And you kind of have to understand the inner workings of power.
I agree with you 100%.
Um, and working in finance as I got older, because I did it so young, I was about 21. So as I got older, I was like, this is really gross.
We are financially illiterate in America. We don't understand what they're doing to us. I don't understand how the Fed works. I don't think Jerome Powell understands how the Fed works. Until
Yeah. And the sad part is, I mean, that to me is kind of a surface to a deeper discussion. You know,
right.
as we move further and further away from me defining revolution in one cute catchphrase, but it starts
I'll
with,
tell you what my definition of
sure.
revolution is. My definition of revolution is the government becomes partners with corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
And we just start buying up shares. We start buying up like 5% of corporations that we either bail out, or they get some of our patents, some of our research. We own. We partner up with the oppressor, and that to me is a peaceful transition to socialism.
Are you talking about the world we're in right now, where we're buying into the corporate oligarchy?
Well, but the government owns it. Like like Social Security is invested,
Mm-hmm.
not through Wall Street. We just buy up. We buy some stock in some of these companies that are too powerful, and then break them up. That to me is a more peaceful. I don't know.
First and foremost, I think any sort of revolution has to come from here, right? We have to first and foremost educate ourselves and really understand how the mechanisms of power are working to keep us down, keep us oppressed. I think that's first and foremost. And everyone's political awareness or education comes at different points in their lives. Some people are, red diaper babies, like
Right.
my good friend Touré Reed, whose dad is Adolf Reed, whose grandpappy is Adolf Reed Sr. He's from a long line of educated Marxists. So he's going to have a very different trajectory than myself and even my co-host, who's got me by 6 or 7 years. He's 53, like 8 years. And even his political education comes differently. And he is his uncles studied in the Soviet Union. He's a black man of Haitian descent who had uncles that went to the Soviet Union to study because the Communist Party opened up educational avenues that the United States did not have, and one of his uncles still lives there.
So let's talk about California. I used to live in Oakland. I used to live in San Francisco. I prefer, Oakland is a God's country. San Francisco, not so much. California, you on This is Revolution talk about AB 1400.
Yeah.
Explain to us, this is beyond the pale here. I mean, it's how is it possible? First of all, what is it, and what kind of power do the Democrats have in California right now?
Well, right, it all depends on what kind of Democrats you're talking about. Are you talking about progressive Democrats? Not much. Progressives in general, not much power. And again, I think that's part of the understanding of where power works, how it works. So this isn't the first time that a single payer bill has come up. In 2017, a single payer bill came up and also didn't get voted on. And it was shot down because of the who's going to pay for it, rhetoric. And Jerry Brown at the time was like, yeah, we don't know who's going to pay for it. So F it. We don't need to bring this bill up. Right. It's going to get shot down anyway. So Gavin Newsom has, his coalition council on how you're going to pay for single payer healthcare, right? And not even working with those people, working with the California Nurses Association, which is, huge proponents of single payer. They've been consistently on the front lines of trying to get single payer. A state assemblyman out of San Jose and some other California assemblymen put together this AB 1400 bill, which was going to institute a new wealth tax. Now, there was conservative pushback, and there were people within the Democratic Party that were like, we're not gonna vote on this. And the progressives in the party were like really big about wanting to call out who wasn't going to vote on it. And the gentleman, I can't think of his name right now. It's like, I'll say it wrong, so I won't say it. I know he's a state assemblyman out of San Jose, which also shocked me because that's coming out of Silicon Valley. And for that to come out of Silicon Valley, that let me think that the big tech was giving it some sort of pass, because maybe they're like, look, that's one less bill we have to pay if the state covers it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can even be part of this big change, because ultimately, and then Non-Gear Das writes about this, oh so well in Winners Take All. I think a lot of the big tech oligarchs want to be stewards of change, but on their dime, and it's usually not good the way they want to do it and what they want to do. But they do want to make the world a better place, right?
As long as they don't have to sacrifice anything and make money making it
in a very Randian sense. They want to make the world a better place. Let's say that. Let's throw that caveat in a Randian sense, an Ayn Randian sense. And so that is coming out of San Jose, that this bill is coming up, and he doesn't vote on it. January 31st. I'm watching everything I could possibly watch here in Mexico. I got my VPN on, slowing down my computer so I can see if anything happens. And finally, he releases a statement and says, well, we're not going to bring it to a floor vote because, and he even says, he goes, I knew that it would hurt my Democratic Party members if we brought this to a floor vote. So once again, it gets silenced. What was interesting to me about the whole thing, and why I even wanted to do a show on it, in the small left sphere that we exist in, Medicare for all becomes a big time talking point for a lot of people that do what we do on various levels. And for a lot of politicians that want to have some sort of even progressive gravitas, they'll say they support Medicare for all. Shontel Brown, the woman that defeated Nina Turner, the corporate Democrat defeating Nina Turner in Ohio, is now saying that she's on board with Medicare for all. You can say it and you know it's going to get shot down, so it doesn't really matter what you say. But here we had an opportunity to really get some sort of push, and it was radio silence. I used the little money I have to pay for the LA Times, so they covered it about as well as I saw it covered. I didn't even see it covered that well in the San Francisco Chronicle, which made me really sad. But as a whole, this podcast sphere and this Twitterverse that we exist in, no one really talked about the AB 1400. And as a lot of the air got sucked out of left media during the force to vote, and I know we don't really have to talk about that, but just bringing it up, that actually was a strategy that would have made sense in this particular case, because we're talking about a state matter, not a federal matter. So there's not, So for the state assemblyman not to bring it up for a floor vote is pretty problematic, because we really don't know who was against it. So there's people like, we should primary this person. It's like, maybe, maybe that's a strategy, but that takes a lot of energy. You could work with the Nurses Association and, try to get a bigger grassroots movement, because again, it was so quiet.
So we were talking about, you came to office hours, and I hope you come back, about some kind of network of like-minded podcasts amplifying each other's voices. We don't have the same clout that I was talking about Joe Rogan earlier. We don't reach 12 million people. Good speech exists, but it's hard to find, especially good speech that exposes the corruption of California state Democrats who claim they're all in on Medicare for all, except actually passing some kind of legislation that
voting on it.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. The podcast universe on the left probably, I don't know. You said this at office hours Friday. I know we barely touched on this because California is only the 5th largest economy in the world. So why would we?
You're not? Are you in California still? Are you?
I'm in Manhattan now.
Okay, you're in New York.
Yeah.
If you think about, if I mentioned this on the office hours, and thank you, Rodrigo and M Tucson for inviting me. Thank you, David, for
you
on the office hours. So I call it the feedback loop of futility. And what happens is because we're not reaching a local base like we would if we had a radio show.
Right.
We were, and I know you do radio, but I think even the radio you do, isn't it? It's
KPFK. Well, with the Ralph Nader show, it's syndicated.
Syndicated. That's the word I'm looking for. So you're still going out to different markets,
right?
But because the internet,
it's Ralph Nader, and he doesn't reach 1/12 of what Joe Rogan.
Oh no. Well, he's not talking about silly shit for clicks.
Go ahead,
Ralph Nader, seatbelt guy.
Right.
but if you think about it, because we reach a global audience and the American audience consumes so much of this type of media, you have people from all over the world that focus on parliamentary American politics. People in Canada talk about American politics more than their own. And we've done probably 7 or 8 shows on Canadian politics. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, because I hate the fact that all these guys try to spend so much time in a market that's not their own, in a country that's not their own, because that's where the views are. Nobody gave a shit about residential schools until it became an American news story. No one gives a shit about Justin Trudeau until it becomes an American news story. So the fact that the American as a whole politic is what we focus on, and federal politics and never state politics, because again, your market's all over the place. I only have 8,000 subscribers on my little bitty channel, right?
Right.
All 8 ain't in Oakland, even though it's a city of 1 million people.
Right.
So we cover a lot of different things, but I do try, because I did actually work with the unhoused and live amongst them. I do try to focus on a lot of the local politics of where I'm from, because I do think it does help a broader audience understand how to organize, and bigger than that, how to get involved from big cities to small cities. And we also deal with local politics in places like Springfield, Missouri. Because again, the small town, we're also reaching quote unquote flyover country. So how do you organize not in melting pots or major metropolitan areas? Or how do you organize with people that may be racist?
Right.
So trying to amplify those voices for us is really important. But you're gonna lose a lot of clicks in that. You're gonna lose a lot of views in that, because we're not always covering whatever's important. But that's the feedback loop of futility. It starts with something like, well, I think this politician's shitty. Okay. And then the next person's either contrary to you, or there's other people smaller than you. And the first comment does, I need to say this, the first comment has to come from a large voice, right? A larger voice in this small world. So if David Feldman says, I think AOC sucks, and then the contrarian comes in and says, David Feldman doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and all
Right.
the people that jump in on the contrary, and then all the people that want to get the David Feldman clicks to jump on and they defend you because they hope, well, maybe if I defend David Feldman, then I can be on his show. And
Right.
then your quote by the next day, you're like, damn, that video got 20,000 more views than usual.
Right. Right.
And then you see, so all of a sudden now you're seeing all the people that told you to fuck off. And now you're angry. It becomes a story. It becomes news. It becomes important because the people also commenting, because and I don't know AOC, but the people that say the AOC sucks thing, now there's all these commenters. They're part of the loop as well. Everyone is getting something. You're getting views. The underlings are getting more views because now they can tag you on it. The people that are commenting on it are getting the dopamine rush for the likes and the retweets. Everybody's winning. You just can't get enough of you.
Right.
And we just keep going around and around. And ultimately,
and we're losing. In the end, we're all
losing. Because
right.
Because when you look at what the right is doing, and again, why I do enjoy talking to people all over the country, they're literally organizing. They're literally getting into the local levers of power.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into the school boards. When Steve Bannon goes, hey, this is the plan. We're going to get into the school boards. We're going to get into the election committees. We're going to run the elections. And what's happening? What is the scuttlebutt? Who listening to this show right now is dealing with a school board that wants to rush kids back to school, not wear masks, take out quote unquote critical race theory, or learning about slavery, or what did the governor of was it Texas say? I don't want anyone white to feel bad. About it was Texas or Florida. It was one of those states where just like Jesus Christ. Yeah. So getting inside these local levers of power, and because that's where you actually can move. Instead of constantly focusing and quote unquote critiquing and bitching at kind of powerless individuals.
And each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. One of the things we're trying to do here on the show, for example, Marianne Cummings, Professor Marianne Cummings is going to be on. I think she might be coming up in the next few minutes. Besides being a physicist and an amazing artist, she is also a parks commissioner for Aurora, Illinois. She ran, Bernie said run, and she ran and got elected. To me, when she describes what's going on in Aurora, she might as well be describing what's going on in my neighborhood. It's as relevant as to me, it's like a sitcom about a small town. And I'm fascinated by anybody who is elected to any office and is making change. It's not everything has to be, as you said, on this grand federal level. The real honesty, the real work is getting done on the granular level. The market forces dictate that we focus on the federal government because you want to appeal to a larger audience, and they've stripped the media. There's nobody covering Sacramento anymore. No. There are no local newspapers, local television, local radio doesn't have news. They bundle their news with other news stations.
The consolidation of 1994, right?
Yeah.
Deregulation.
And venture capital now, I think is it Alden Capital? It's a hedge fund that's buying up all the newspapers, stripping them of their assets. And
there was an interesting documentary that was done that kind of based that buyout in Vegas, and showing how destroying the Vegas newspaper, they destroyed a lot of the reporting on corruption that was done with casino owners. And I think when we think of Vegas, we constantly think of, old Vegas and the mob, who, hasn't really had a strong foot in that town in quite some time. Corporations have been in Vegas since, oh God, what was his name? The crazy guy that had the syphilis on the top of flew the airplanes, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, Howard Hughes.
Yeah. since Howard Hughes came in there and kind of changed the scene. So, you know, it's sad. It's a sad day when that happens, and I think we're starting to see it on our end, but I don't think people really know how to feel about it because no one wants to talk about something until it becomes a problem, right?
Right.
And I myself and my co-host, and actually pretty much all four of us that are really deeply involved with the show, want to talk about more things that matter because we want to see a real vibrant left, not just angry leftists, right?
Right. Well, you'll come back. This is great.
Yeah.
How are things in Mexico tonight before I say goodbye?
I haven't left my house in 3 days as I've been trying to do this video essay that I'm almost done with. It should be up by 6.
I know the feeling.
It's about if I can give a quick plug.
Yes, please.
It's called Cosby Ain't Yo Daddy, and it's about parasocial relationships.
Wow.
And the lie of racial uplift politics.
Right. People can see this where? Is this part of This Is Revolution podcast on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. You've seen Kamau Bell's Showtime special on
Yelled at it the whole time, called Teray Reed up at like 3 a.m, yelling on the phone to him. I was furious at it.
Okay, we need to. I don't want to get into an argument with you. I think it's an amazing documentary.
Didn't like it.
You didn't like it. Okay, next week.
You wanted out. I wanted to finish this before 3. You have no idea how hard I was working to finish this because I wanted you to check it out.
Give us the web address so we can check it.
YouTube.com/This Is Revolution Podcast.
This is Jason Myles. He will be back next week. He is the co-host of This Is Revolution. Thank you so much, Jason. To be continued.
Thank you, Mr. Feldman. Thank you, David. Sorry. You said
That's
David.
right.
Take care.
Mr. Feldman is my mother's name or something. I don't know. Thank you.